Has affordability hit a ceiling? On this month's episode, I'm answering that question along with breaking down all the stats to show you guys where this market is and where it might be heading. Here we go. All right, guys, I start every episode breaking down the numbers, showing you guys where we are today. So through the month of July, we've seen 1,575 homes come on the market. We've seen 610 more sell and actually close escrow. And then we saw 1,288 homes actually go pending, with 487 be pulled off the market and expire. So what does this all show us? What does this tell us? Well, it tells us really we're in a slow chugging market. With only 1,575 new listings coming on the market, that shows us we just don't have a lot of sellers out there, a lot of inventory flooding our market, which is probably a good thing because we only saw 1,288 homes actually go pending, right? If those numbers were maybe more in line with a few years ago with new inventory numbers of say 3,000 a month, and then we only had 1,200 homes actually go pending, then we're seeing decreased in values. The reason why values are staying the same is because it's just a slow chugging market, about equal amounts buyers as sellers. And that's actually where I'm seeing things heading in the near future. So to piggyback on last month's episode where I talked a little bit about the wealth gap and the different markets that we have here in San Diego, from the wealthier kind of coastal neighborhoods doing relatively well and seeing some markets seeing really good appreciation, to some of our more entry-level price points struggling a bit. Sure enough, Dr. Selma Heap put out this article, and one of her quotes was, "The U.S. housing market in the mid-2026 remains firmly entrenched in a geographical split, shaped fundamentally by an affordability gap and a wealth gap that continues to divide buyers across the nation." Exactly what I was talking about last month, and the point is proven when we start looking at affordability. What this graph is showing us here is the median household income to be able to afford a house. And this is nationwide. This isn't just here in San Diego, but it definitely is playing a factor here in San Diego. As you can see on the graph, the median household just hasn't increased. And we are fighting against a 6-year run in the market where we've seen drastic increases in one way or the other. What we saw in the pandemic, right, were low interest rates, but we saw values go through the roof. 2020, 21, 22, really values took off even in 23. And then we saw the shift happen with interest rates, which dragged down our market, of course, and started to slow it down, which we needed because the market was too hot. But now we're up against this battle of values that went up during the pandemic and income not keeping up. Now we're interest rates going up and income not keeping up. So we're getting hit on two fronts. So my question is, what needs to change in order to help our market? So what needs to change to be able to help us out, guys, and get our housing market to a more affordable amount? It's easy to say income, right? We all need more income, right, across the board, and that just hasn't happened. We did see a little bit of a bump in average income when going through the pandemic, when we had low employment numbers, and everybody was struggling to get employees, and we saw wages increase. That was great. We needed that, but it's not enough to drastically impact our market. What we need are better mortgage rates. That is the big indicator that's going to tell us if our market's going to continue to chug along like it is right now, or if we're going to actually start to see things pick up and see more sales happen, and also see things appreciate. Right now, mortgage rates have been floating between 6 and 7 for about 2 years now. And every time they get back down into the 5s, and this has happened on 2 occasions, we see the market start to pick up. Sure enough, interest rates are back up in the high 6s right now, and we're seeing a little bit of a lull. Once again, it's in different markets though. We're talking about the wealthier demographic or wealthier market do really well, and then that entry-level market struggle a little bit. With all that said, I want to debunk something that I've seen a lot of, actually I've heard a lot of buyers mention of their struggle with affordability, right? And them just feeling like prices are too high with interest rates too high. And also debunk some of these big headlines that I'm seeing out there, like this one, that purchasing a 2-bedroom home is more than 50% more expensive than renting, right? These are direct numbers if you got rent costs compared to, your mortgage costs or your overhead for a mortgage and owning a home. Well, the reason why I can debunk this is because these aren't taking into account some of the biggest savings that you get when you're a homeowner, such as tax savings, right? Principal buy down. You get to write off all your interest on your mortgage, right? Now there's tax savings there. And then of course there's other things that really drastically impact your life, like stability, right? Living in a property and knowing that your payment's not going to change for 30 years. That's stability versus having a landlord increase your rent every year. So I have to debunk that. Even though affordability is an issue right now, buying a home is still a better choice than renting. And this is a perfect example, a little infograph here. Year one alone, your principal buy down, let's say you bought a $700,000 property, your principal buy down isn't much, but it's still $6,100. That goes towards paying down your mortgage payment, right? The bigger savings comes in your taxes. When you can write off all this interest, and sure enough, it's showing that as a single filer, you're saving $9,500. So year one, right, you have this huge savings of, $16,000 roughly, just under year one, right? If you look at a 5-year trend, principal buy down $35,000, right? Cash savings $46,000 in taxes. And then if you add in some home price appreciation, let's just say 3.5% per year, guys, very minimal. You're looking at over $212,000 of increased really net worth, right? This is adding to your bottom line. This is tax savings. This is appreciation. This is principal buy down. These are big chunks that can really help you, create actual net worth versus renting a home for $4,000 a month and you're losing $240,000 in 5 years. So I had to debunk that, had to bring that up. People just so easily forget when they're looking to purchase a property, they're looking at the rent costs versus the mortgage costs. And sure, you're gonna pay a little bit more right now to buy a property. Let's say it's $1,000 or $2,000 more, but then you're saving at the end of the day, in this case, $16,000, right? That goes towards really your net worth here. So something to be considered. Please take a second look if you are a first-time buyer. I know my more experienced buyers out there already know about these huge savings, but if you are a first-time buyer, please take a second look. All right, guys, how I like to end every episode. Here's my buyer and my seller advice for the month of July. For all my buyer clients out there, be active and look at ways that you can lower your mortgage payment the first 2 years and then refinance later. It's called a 2-1 buy down. We're getting sellers to pay for this, and it's lowering your payment those first 2 years pretty significantly with the goal that you can refinance after the second year. For all my seller clients out there, now is not the time to overprice. It is the time to prep and price right. We got to make your place look amazing, and we got to price it right. For help with that, please call somebody here on the True Local team. We'd love to help you out. Take care.